Hello. Uh, Hello, nice to see you all. My name is Radek Zaleski, senior partner at NetGuru. This is the yet another episode of Disruption Talks. Today we are having David Westera from Adidas. David, could you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Radek. Nice to be here. As said, my name's David, Director of Product Management within Trading Capabilities at Adidas. Been working within AI for around 6-7 years, and before that, digital and data transformations for various top Fortune 500 companies, especially within the banking, finance, and now retail industry. Very happy to be here. My key focus is really optimizing decision making and really driving transformative growth for large multinational companies.
Great. So I always wanted to do this episode, David. I see you have Adidas sweatshirt. I'm well prepared. This is my fancy Adidas sports suit, but also I have you know, something to put on my head. I hope it's fine. And
You look like you're skiing, Radek.
it's my kiddos. So let's start with the first question. So the most important question, right? Yesterday I got a package with a brand new Adidas shoes, and how AI helps me with buying more stuff as a sneakerhead, David.
Oof, where do I start? Well, I would say for our most loyal customers and sneak enthusiasts, I think you've probably already seen quite a lot of innovation and change, especially over the last couple of years. The first thing that really comes to mind is personalization. So if you're going through, especially an ecom website, and Adidas's ecom website these days, you're getting personalized recommendations on which products we believe will resonate with you and you'll like the most. This is based on your purchasing history, your browsing history, and we're arranging the PLP and the placement of the products on the website to make sure we're putting the products that you're most interested in first. And it's not just around recommendations, but also around design. So now with Gazelles, Superstars, you're able to customize these shoes with your own unique designs. And I think we are going through into a phase of embracing uniqueness, and we
Yeah.
all want to be, let's say, a little bit different, and to be able to adjust and customize very popular and historical designs in your own way, I think is a real great unique thing that we're targeting. Um, I would also like to mention, AI, and I think we've all heard around AI how it's maybe leading to this dystopian future where human interaction is going to be, let's say, minimal at most, and
Yeah.
AI is going to take over all our jobs, and we're not going to have anything to do. And maybe we just need to demyth and debug this a little bit. And
Mhm.
I think it shows maybe a bit of a lack of understanding of the impact that AI can really have. Um, we can see through developments around metaverse, especially, that actually AI can help in actually bringing a community together. And we're
Mhm.
seeing the rollout of these AI solutions and features is that we're actually increasing let's say increasing this, or strengthening rather, the relationship between the customer and the brand by not just selling products, but providing unique experiences away from just the purchasing process.
So 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 the story for me is, as a consumer, as a person who likes the brand, likes the mobile application, likes the ecosystem, is
Yeah.
that I will be more engaged. I will be getting more features, ability to customize, getting better promotions, etc. So this is my things I'm getting.
We could
Um,
even do augmented reality. So before you
oh,
brought that app, Redek, you could have seen what it might have looked like on your head before buying it.
it was very good.
Like with AR especially, is that you're really reducing that purchasing risk.
Uh-huh.
We've all
Oh,
bought online and bought products that maybe haven't come out as we expected. So yeah, I really think improving the overall customer satisfaction. Yeah, yeah.
mhm. Uh, so this is on my side, right? As a consumer, how it looks from your side. So how you as a company perceive the role of AI in a business landscape, right? So what are your objectives as a business? Of course, the number one objective is to serve the customer. This I
Mm.
get, but what happens maybe beneath the surface?
Yeah, like maybe I'll start off is that, especially when I speak to friends, maybe not working within AI or the industry, when I mention AI, they instantly think of ChatGPT and large language models, and that AI has only been around, for 1-2 years. But in fact, I think many people listening and people working in the areas that we've been working on AI solutions for 5, 6, 7, 8 years now, and it's already been slowly integrated into our daily life. One of the key objectives over the years, within Adidas is really optimizing and automating decision making, especially focusing on the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
So that can range from what is the best products to offer our customers, the allocation of stock within different markets and distribution centers, all the way down the supply chain to the pricing strategies, the offerings we provide, when do we offer promotions, and how those campaign mechanics look like.
So what you're saying is that right now we have like 1.5 year of AI hype, mostly around generative AI, those things you can tinker on the web, have fun, generate a nice picture. But what you're saying is that in more robust, or let's say leading businesses, this AI transformation is happening much earlier. And those things might not be visible to the end users, might not be as fancy or as as easy to hype, but they bring you clear advantage, right?
Exactly. It's almost empowerment through information and choice. I really believe AI is the single biggest driver of innovation since the dot-com bubble in the 90s and the early 2000s. And we've seen companies fail by not adapting, to the dot-com and not building an online presence and not building those e-com stores. And I believe, the same risk is posed within AI. Going into some more of those primary objectives is, again, back to those personalization subjects, providing a unique customer journey. So each customer feels valued and feels like the company is actually talking to them rather than the masses. It's vitally important in terms of increasing that brand loyalty. When I'm talking about, like, maybe just quickly on sustainability as well, looking at sustainable practices and how AI can implement there. We've all heard about, AI solutions using a lot of energy and, all of the data centers and how much electricity and power we're using. But, we don't focus on how AI can actually identify what is the best materials to use, what are the best waste management practices, what is our product life cycle like? We have already released products, like the 4D shoes, for example, where, we've used this technology to work out, okay, what is the best material to use for a sustainable and long-lasting shoe? And that is all used with AI technology to not replace designers, let's say, jobs, but aid and support in that decision making. Again, providing information to optimize that final decision.
So how I hear is I get what's value for the end user. You get your operational excellence using AI. Then it also helps the whole society and the market, as you've just mentioned. All easy peasy, great. Let's do this AI top. But how? Like, can you share insights about your Adidas AI journey? How you implement all this into the engineering? Because it sounds easy, David, but
it's not easy. I'll tell you that.
How to do
it? It's a long process, especially when you're building in-house AI solutions. Like just going into the AI journey, especially for myself within Adidas, it started around 6-7 years ago, and it started really from a basis of experimentation and looking at the various business cases that could be possible. We live in a world where CEOs to customers, we're all quite impatient, and we all want value, impact, and deliveries immediately. But when building these solutions, we need time, we need that experimentation phase, we need that conceptualization phase. And that phase probably honestly took us around a year and a half to really fully complete, to really fully understand all those business cases, especially within the supply chain, and identifying which decisions and which processes we felt confident we could automate and actually optimize and improve to create incremental value around demand or profitability. The team started extremely small. There was 2-3 of us from a product side, a small group of data engineers and data scientists. At the time, we were working with some very strong external partners, which were helping us out a lot, especially from the research perspective, and really identifying what are the correct models and what is the correct technology and what is the architecture to be using to really be able to not just build an AI product, because I think we can all go and build an AI product, but we really had a sharp focus on not just the business case, but how do we monetize AI solutions, which I think is still a common challenge for a lot of people in not just the retail industry, but all over.
I'm looking at our notes, and I'm seeing that the things you've mentioned, like being patient, starting small, seeing those business cases. But I also see a word notepad. You mean like a pen and paper, or?
Well, I think no, I don't mean a pen and paper. I think all the programmers, data scientists out there will, especially the ones who work with me, will laugh at the word notepad. And the fact is, especially in the early days, we were building very, very complex models, which were running in a notepad and taking tens of hours to complete. And we were almost running before we could walk, and we were building AI solutions and AI models without really having the proper infrastructure there. And that is maybe one of the challenges of the first mover advantage, let's say. And I believe it was the correct process, because we built that proof of concept, we built that MVP, we got the buy-in from the leaders and the stakeholders. We really convinced everyone that this is the way to go. But once you get your stakeholders excited and once you prove that minimal viable product, it's like, okay, when can we go into production? And that's where really my role comes in. You need to set expectations, and we have an ever-changing IT landscape and architecture. And one of those biggest challenges was, how do we integrate these machine learning models, these AI solutions within that changing landscape? So let's say if a data source changes, or let's say we transition from AWS to Databricks, how do we build our solutions and models in a way where change has the lowest impact on the actual products that we've developed?
Right. One thing I'm interested is about the stakeholder management. So for sure, there was I'm assuming there was a lot of excitement in terms of the higher ups, like, David, bring us AI, awesome, cool, optimize everything. But what about the people who might fear that the stuff you are doing might be danger for their jobs or their excellence centers or whatever? How do you manage this?
It's a great question. And, we're going to see this challenge across industries and across various different products. And, my first thoughts when, especially speaking to maybe a stakeholder or colleague who might have concerns in this area, is that I do not believe, especially for talented individuals who are already working in Adidas, who have a huge skill set and knowledge base, is that the goal is not to replace your job. The goal is not to, reduce your, let's say, job responsibilities. I honestly believe it's to give you time to be more creative. It's to give you time to look at a problem. So, I'll give you an example, is that we've had, over the years, we've had pricing managers, daily trying to make, between 3,000 and 5,000 price changes within a day, let alone the human error that may cause. Is that you have to question if that's the best use of a human's time, and whether, especially this mass decision making, can be taken over by these models. So we have the opportunity to be more creative. We have the opportunity to look at, the core problems of the business, rather than just going through our day-to-day kind of decision-making process and that repetitive process. So I really do believe, actually, in the end, AI will boost creativity. It will boost our efficiency within our role, and it will actually boost our enjoyment within our jobs, because, again, it reduces that mass repetitive decision-making, and it allows us to think outside the box.
Good segue to a decision-making process. So you have those consumers, and they're, as patient as me, like sending my sneakers today, like instantly. That's a key feature. Then you have the management teams, and they also have their expectations. Everyone is sending you feature requests and ideas. How do you manage this from a product management perspective? How do you do prioritization, or what criteria are you using to decide should we do this? How should we approach this? Or should we even think about this?
Yeah. So I'm not going to go into OKRs, quarterly annual reviews, workshop roundtables. I think we all have heard probably enough and know enough about this. What I will do is maybe just quickly speak on what I like to call the heptagon theory or methodology. I'm not sure if that's a real thing or not, but it really, for me, prioritization consists of 7 stages or sides in the shape. Those 7 stages consist of alignment with strategic goals, business impact from a monetary value, technical feasibility and viability, consumer, customer, and market demand, or even business demand if you're building in-house, B2B tools, scalability of the solution. Can we scale that model to different markets, to different products? The regulatory and ethical considerations, especially around AI. I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see, let's say, a raft of different AI legislation, especially coming out of the EU. That needs to be taken into account in the models. And we've already seen that. We have IFRS 18, I think, or 19 coming out now. All the financial models will need to start taking that into account, be adjusted. Businesses need to take that into their development planning. But we've also had EU directives and changes around pricing. So, over the last year and a half, we've had some really large changes with how businesses can offer promotions, offer discounts, offer geographical pricing, especially within the EU. All these regulatory changes takes a tech team, takes a development team, and also takes the business to understand that problem, but the tech team to then change those models and solution. And that seventh stage is the resource allocation, the budget allocation. So you can have the biggest dreams in the world. You could approve the technical feasibility. You could, have the buy-in, you prove the impact. But if you don't have the team, you don't have the budget, you're going to be over-promising to a business that it will be disappointed in the end. So what I like to do is, if especially a project selection or even a feature development is, look at these 7 stages and then rank them 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, and then create a simple weighting system, let's say. And then from there, you can start ranking your features, ranking your projects, and seeing, okay, really not just what has the highest impact, but what can be delivered the fastest. What is the business looking for, as I discussed before?
So you've presented a pretty convincing, like a checklist for a leader to follow. I hope the people who are listening will try to at least get inspired by this. But between us two, no one is listening. You can be frank with me. What is the biggest death pit? Like where the ideas go to die? On which stage or on which of those things? Like, is it regulatory or is it like no budget? Where ideas are getting killed the most?
I would say at this point, it's the resource allocation, budget, and technical feasibility. I think, we all can get very creative now around AI, but it's expensive to build. Let's be honest, especially, we're still in the infancy of this technology. Again, when you're a first mover and when you're in this phase of innovation, things are very expensive to innovate. But I do believe it provides you a competitive advantage over your rivals, which is hard to catch up on. But where do ideas go to die? Usually in budget negotiations.
So it's a tricky one, right? For a product person or a leader who wants to move things forward, is because on one thing you have all those ideas, you prioritize them, you build POCs, and then you request for a budget without, let's be honest, without clear understanding what the return of investment will be, or what will be the time frame, right? So I assume this can be sometimes you can greenlight a project that can take a lot of resources, but end up maybe nowhere in terms of business, but okay in terms of features or value for the users. As you've mentioned before, the monetization is a hard part, right?
Yeah. You will always see conflict in that, and I've experienced that where we have projects where promises hundreds of millions in value, but the business or the customers are asking for something different. And I think this is probably one of the good things about this methodology, and is really making transparent that decision-making process. And you need to include your customers and your stakeholders within that. You need to include them when you're ranking these projects, because once people really have full transparency on why you're making decision and how you've got to that decision, I feel like you have a lot more proactive conversation. You build a stronger relationship. there's always within any business been competition between budgets and projects, and who has the highest priority. And again, having this open and transparent kind of prioritization metrics, I think, brings down a couple of those, let's say, barriers.
Let's move on into something more of a concrete, I guess, something more tangible. Because right now we were mostly discussing those things related to the digital realm. But of course, Adidas is a company that produces real stuff, right? Like things that take a long to design, produce. It's a lot of cost associated with developing new product lines. So for me, it is interesting how AI changed the Adidas approach to manufacturing and customer feedback about the products and the design of products.
Yeah. I'll start on design. And it actually reminds me, I'm not sure if you've seen the Nike CEO comments last week or so around about innovation, performance of the business, and attributing it to a work from home culture. I'm not, let's say, proponing and saying, look, we all should be working from home, because there's clear advantages, to going into the office, collaborating out face-to-face meetings and discussions. But I think, especially within the design process, if you're integrating data-driven decisions within that design process, I think not just in design, but anywhere, it does bring down some of those hurdles, those challenges that work from home can bring. Because, one of those disadvantages, I would say, from working from home is probably to stem creativity. It probably stems a little bit of communication. But on that creativity point of view, rather than being dependent on some very, very clever individuals in the business who might come and go, or might have, let's say, some biases, if you aid them with information, if you aid them with data, if you build advanced analytics and predictive modeling to show them what possible future trends would be, if that's not colorway or shape or design. And I really believe that is the driver of innovation. I'll go back to what I said before, is that I believe AI is the single biggest driver of innovation. And I think, back to the Nike CEO comments, I think it's a too simple answer to a very, very complicated question. And looking at design and how AI can help, we also have visual prototyping and simulations. So I would expect over the next couple of years that all our designers are wearing these Apple Pro Vision glasses, and they're designing all these in 3D, and we're all walking around like this. And this is not just for design companies. This will be for mechanical engineering companies as well.
Is it going to happen? Like, really? You think this will be a reality?
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. Maybe not the Apple Pro Vision glasses, but that type of tech, as it evolves, I believe will become commonplace. And I really believe, again, it will boost, rather than stemming creativity, it will boost creativity. I really do honestly believe that. Maybe just like quickly switching to the manufacturing. So AI has been in manufacturing for years, to be quite honest with you. We've seen Amazon and other big players, integrating AI and for a very long time. If that's not, automated guided vehicles, warehouse management systems, put walls. Some of my colleagues actually would be surprised to hear that I did a small bit of consultancy a while ago for small to medium-sized companies looking to automate their manufacturing process. And what was not a huge surprise, but what kind of stood out to me is that even the small players now are adopting this technology as it becomes cheaper, as it becomes more accessible, which is really, really interesting. And again, allows humans to do more creative, more complex tasks, and maybe requires a bit of retraining, a bit of reskill sets. And there's conversations we can have about, and maybe a generational gap there. But I think in the future will definitely improve society as a whole. And then you mentioned about customer feedback, and I'll just quickly mention this. So when I think customer feedback, when I think AI, I think real time. I don't know about you, Radek, but how many times have you written an email to a company, demanding a refund or complaining, and you never heard anything back, or you got, let's say, an out of office message?
So frankly speaking, I don't do that, because I expect I will be put on a chatbot or whatever,
This
and
is my
it's
point.
like goodbye. I
Yeah,
don't want to waste my time. Funny thing is, I remember vividly that if I was really, angry at something and I wrote an email or whatever, I really remember the companies that replied to me.
yeah, yeah,
That this, as you mentioned, this personalization and taking care about the community, it really works. I really remember such situations. Right on the other side of the spectrum, uh, the let's say the mass market companies like telecoms or whatnot, or financial service institutions, it's a hell from a
yeah,
consumer perspective. If you want to have some kind of a complaint, it just
yeah.
works very poorly in my view.
Yeah, yeah. So the chatbot was my example exactly, as I think we've all experienced, and even me recently, with a couple of the Airbnb hosting things I do, is that going to customer support, getting put on a chatbot, and just telling the chatbot, "Give me to a real human, please. Give me to a real human, please." This is something I think we've all experienced, and I think looking especially at large language models and the introduction of that is that we're definitely going to see an improvements in that area. And again, going back to that real-time feedback and creating a feedback loop, which in essence will again strengthen the relationship between the brand and the customer. And this doesn't necessarily need to be IT tech support. This could be, around the fitting of a shoe or a jumper,
Mhm.
or that, whether you think the material is too thick for the summer or what have you. It could be a variety of feedback. And I think, again, one of the advantages of integrating AI into this process is opening up the communication,
Mhm.
opening up the communication to the individual customer, increasing that loyalty, increasing that, returning buys and purchases. I think, that's the direction we're going.
Uh, just a small pause
Please do.
here. If we have viewers who'd like to ask David a question, just type them in whenever you're watching. Hopefully, we will see them. At the end, hopefully, David will have a time to answer those. Or if they are related to the topic we're discussing, we can try to answer them in the real time. So feel free to ask questions. Um, we uh, we decided we discussed this customer feedback process, how it can improve the process of designing, building new things. What about the AI and marketing? I am a marketer from the heart, and a person who worked in the media. I
Yeah.
know very well how efficient those systems could be or can be if they operate the data efficiently, but also I know how creepy those things can be if you implement them in the wrong way. So, David, let me know how are you doing? The creepy way or a good way?
I think all innovation, technology, new technology is a bit creepy at first until we get used to it, and it also improves. Maybe I should start this question off with just a massive shout out to the marketing and ad teams within Adidas. I know my love of the Adidas brand is largely contributed to the adverts and the marketing campaigns, especially during World Cup years that have been created over the years. I'm not sure how many companies actually have customers who proactively search for their adverts on YouTube just to watch out of the pure enjoyment of it. And also that competition with Nike, that really, that was really what attracted me to the brand of Adidas at first, along with its partnerships
Mhm.
with various different sporting stars such as David Beckham. Um, but looking at the marketing, so the first thing that comes to mind is consumer segmentation and
Mhm.
understanding our customers. you know by passing these massive data sets now, we're really understanding what is just not, let's say, the purchasing behavior of the customer, but what is the lifestyle choices especially, and
Mhm.
what are they really looking for, and again looking into that predictive trend analysis. um, it's important to mention, is that AI again is probably not gonna be like, maybe let me rephrase this, is that I saw last week that OpenAI released a new product, Sora. I'm not sure if you know
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
large language model, text prompts, you now create videos.
Yeah.
Apparently, I haven't used it yet, but Hollywood worthy. And I can imagine a lot of marketeers are probably looking at that and thinking, okay, what does this mean for me? But again, it goes into aiding your job, and to be
Mhm.
honest, and I believe how AI, especially over the next 6 months to a year, it will be really definitely contributing to the creation of storyboards and that idea generation and that
Okay.
conceptualization. But
Okay.
for the near future, you're definitely still going to have a human, refining that overall storyline and making sure that fits not with the overall strategic objective of the business, but
Mhm.
also, what the brand is trying to, let's say, convey with its messaging,
Mhm.
and making sure, we're having the correct communication. Um, like it will increase engagement, it will increase conversion, it will make, marketing communications or adverts or what we see on Instagram more accessible.
Mhm.
But I believe, especially with marketing, it's going to be with combination with our marketing experts for quite a while. Yeah.
I might say something controversial for you.
Mm.
I hope you don't get heat from this
Um,
comment internally. But frankly speaking, again, I love the brand. I use the mobile app, but
yeah.
whenever I use the mobile app, the recommendations I'm getting in the app maybe are not kind of weak, but I don't remember them. I don't remember the recommendation inside the app. But the majority of the products I buy from social media feeds where I
Okay.
am being fed with personalized products, which
Mm.
really, 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 really good adapt to my lifestyle choices, my style. And it's funny thing that the most conversions I think I guess are in my case I'm doing nothing, browsing social media. I see, oh, this sport jacket. It's pretty. Looks like it's me. It's pretty cheap. I'm going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how much how big the pie is to educate the audience and push the audience the products and the stuff they might be interested in third-party systems like Instagram ecosystem,
Yeah.
Meta ecosystem versus inside the app or inside emails.
Yeah. So let's first touch on Instagram stores and buying things through social media. Yeah, like I will openly admit, in the realms of personalization, we're all catching up with, the players such as Instagram. But there's one reason why for that, and it's because they know more about you than any other company. They've collected
Mhm.
more data from you. You've
Yeah,
spent the most time on that app. You've given it the most content. You've given it the most feedback about your likes and dislikes.
yeah.
That is why you're probably perceiving that the recommendations are better through Instagram. And I'll openly admit we've probably still got some catching up to do. And it's still about learning about our customers and collecting further data. And I think we've all probably seen the Netflix documentary about Instagram and
Mhm.
social
Yeah,
media
yeah.
algorithms. We're not at that level, but you have to question again what is ethical as well. Because okay, selling shoes, selling jumpers, maybe doesn't go into the realms of that ethic, like let's say being unethical. But these algorithms can be used also for good and for bad. So with personalization and with the integration of this technology, and especially how it can be used, there's a balance to it. And yes, we want to offer you the best products, but we don't
Mhm.
also want to invade your privacy. We
Yeah.
don't want to be, like maybe fear mongering a little bit here, but listening through your iPhone microphone, thinking, okay, he's interested. Like we don't want to go that far.
Now you just confirmed this is real. I'm going to get now I'm
No,
worried.
exactly. Yeah, so there's a balance to it. And, as I
Mhm.
said, we've still got improvement to do. We're still learning about our consumer base. But what I will tell you is that if you want the latest designs, if you want the
Mhm.
latest products, if you want the latest releases, you're only going to get that on the Adidas website.
Oh yeah,
And
this yeah, yeah.
so,
This I can clearly see, and also this is maybe not an AI topic, but rather product management topic. What I've
yeah,
observed in those leading consumer brands in their mobile product strategy is that those mobile applications become more and more of a place where you can spend a little bit time in, like enjoy the content, watch something, get entertained, not just shops. I'm not sure if this is the real strategy, but this is something I've observed, that those are becoming like super apps.
Yeah, gamification's a big thing, right? So again, it's about enhancing that consumer experience. It's not just shoving products in front of you and saying, look, buy, 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 buy. When you enter the app and, when you're thinking about Adidas as the brand, we want you to have good feelings. We want you to enjoy the experience. We want to offer you experiences that our competitors and our rivals are not. And that can be through the metaverse, that can be through gamification, that could be through, entering lotteries for the latest designs. And, I really think, Adidas is, especially through hype apps, especially has pushed the boundaries there where, we're seeing our competitors adopt, the same practices with, how they release new designs and, how they target their sneaker enthusiasts and, target them with, a specific, a different, let's say, customer journey than the rest of the customers, let's say.
Thanks for this comment. We have around 25 minutes left. Again, if there are questions, please ask. I'm moving to the boring topic, which I think might be close to your heart, which is trading capabilities, supply chain management, inventory optimization. I can only imagine that mistakes done in those parts of business can kill companies that are, in apparel industry, sports goods industries very fast, right? If you do a mistakes here, do I get this right?
Yes, yeah. Like again, like on that comment, of let's say the solution making mistakes and maybe destroying the trust in the solution and further rollout and scalability of it. Yes, that can happen. Mistakes will always happen. We're always going to see improvements in decisions. But building that strong relationship with the business and the customers and including them on the journey and making sure that they feel partly responsible for it, is able to build, let's say, a unity of trust that it's not us versus them. Is that as a business we're all contributing to build this solution and product. Looking at trading capabilities, like we've been running, let's say, at least with me and the team for 6-7 years now. And as you said, focused on that supply chain decision making, and that's everything from the product offering to in-season campaign mechanics, stock and distribution movements, all the way to pricing strategies that we look at Black Friday. One of the key projects close to my heart, and I think we'll talk about this a bit further later, was the dynamic pricing projects. And one of our real, I think, USPs and successes within trading capabilities is that we were able to identify causal relationships. And, this is something that a lot of companies are building predictive models. And these could be deep learning models, neural networks, TLP. It could be even statistical predicting demand, predicting sales. But actually, there is quite limited research into actual causal relationships. And what I mean by that, as an example, is that how price can be affected, how the changes in price can affect demand, how the changes in the economic environment, or let's say society's environment, can affect demand. So you can imagine we have a triangle where you have demand at the top, you have the price of our product on the left, and you have, let's say, the economic environment. And by identifying the cause and the effect of these relationships, we can start going into scenario planning and simulations. So we can start modeling what is the impact of COVID on our business and on our demand. What is the impact of inflation and us having to increase our prices or even lower our prices during a certain period? What happens if our demand drops off by 20%? What are we doing with our inventory, which is held in the distribution stores? Even vice versa, if demand is going up by 50%, and is our pricing correct? So I think one of those big success that we've had is accurately measuring those causal relationships and being able to move not just into, let's say, predictive analytics and predictive modeling, but as I said, identifying those relationships, the cause and the effect, and moving into scenario and simulation planning.
I was wondering, so this is this type of AI which has been on the market and used by businesses for a long period of time, right? And before the whole AI hype, you could also say it's like machine learning or pattern predictions, or maybe you can say it's data engineering. Right now, we're using the word AI to sometimes describe those things. My
AI
question,
is broad of a term these days.
right? In your opinion, what is the proper term, or how we should be, talking about those things here?
Oof, oof.
Those, operational side, database
Yeah.
side things, not the generative AI hype, but those things. Is the AI the right word, or maybe you think it's temporary, but it should be called something different?
I think, as I mentioned before, I think, we're using AI as a bit of an umbrella term at the moment. And I think, as we all understand more about the technology, we'll start to identify actually the differences and the different aspects of AI. And you may be just focusing, back on the distribution, the supply chain side, one thing outside of, let's say, predictive analytics and forecasting, which you're right, has been around for a few years, is, we're starting to see products and solutions being released, which is really analyzing the risk management side of your supply chain and your distribution network. Now, I don't envy our colleagues, working in logistics and distribution these days with all these geopolitical challenges. They've had to deal with COVID, lockdowns, we've had various different wars, we've had the Suez Canal issues, and, this has made it very, very complicated. But we're now starting to see technology being built with, our partners with UPS, with Maersk, which is collecting all this variety of data from where our shipping containers are, to which routes they are, to really optimize on changing market environments. And what I mean by that is that, we have these solutions now which are scraping all these news articles, analyzing the risk of a certain distribution route, analyzing the risk of manufacturing in a certain country, and identifying areas where what they like to call is, let's say, at risk or have weak security within that supply chain, and really preemptively educating our decision makers, our leaders, that there is a risk here. We're seeing tensions build up in certain areas. What are you doing to ensure that your supply chain and your product flow is going to be maintained during this time? These are extremely complex solutions, and it goes into the world of also cybersecurity and cryptography. But I do believe, looking at the future of AI and supply chain, this will be one of the next big steps.
We have some comments. I will read this comment aloud before we move to another few topics that we have prepared. Mateusz Jarząbek asked a question which is kind of related to this customer feedback / what is in for me as a sneakerhead, or maybe a sports person. So Mateusz is asking, are you working on technologies where the shoe will use the AI, for example, to inform the user of a wrong walking or running technique?
Yes, so that's a very, very good point. So not with maybe, my example will actually be related to football. So Adidas has already actually released technology where we've created a football boot which actually has a chip within inside the shoe that is actually analyzing how quick you run, how you're kicking the ball, the speed of the ball. So again, this is one of the things that I'm excited about with the future of AI and the new technology being released, and how Adidas can play a part, is actually building technologies and providing analytics almost to our competitive sporting athletes and clubs and partnerships on how they can actually improve their individual performance. And that is technology that is starting to become available, and we are starting to see. And I'm sure, going to Matthias's question, I'm sure we're going to see that in running, soon. Like, we already have the Runtastic apps. I think it's only a matter of time until we're linking that to the shoe, and we're providing further analytics on your performance and how you can improve as an athlete. Because, yes, we sell sporting products, but Adidas as a brand also wants to get everyone into sport, and also then improve, once you're doing that sport, if that's not running, football, rugby, what have you. So I would say stay tuned. It will be coming.
It's a very interesting topic. Whenever
Really.
I'm thinking about this, I'm wondering who will take a lead, because you might
Yeah.
think the businesses that sell and have brands related to sports might take the lead, but then again you might think, okay, maybe not. Maybe the device producers like Apple or Android ecosystem phones producers, they might take the lead because they already have a computing device that you can connect with something, with a chip, and then they will. Does not make sense what the chip is. The computing device is the most important thing. But then some might say, and I will say this as a software guy, the most important thing is what is the software being used by the end user, right? So let's say if I use the leading app for keeping my runs, let's say it's a run keeper or similar, and I have my track record there, probably I will be expecting that whatever the device I have or whatever the brand of the shoes I'm using, I would like to have this app connected to it. So it will be very interesting where it, who leads, where it comes from, what I saw. Let me know if I got this right. But what I saw, that the big brands are buying the sports applications, right? If I remember correctly. And also the huge brands as Adidas are designing their own chips, or maybe using the chips, pre-made chips, to design their own hardware, as you've mentioned, right? So this is really, really interesting dynamic.
Let me comment on that quickly. So, I do believe a lot of this tech will be formed through partnerships. And what actually came to mind as you were talking was the recent, let's say, debacle between Apple and the self-driving autonomous car, where you mentioned as well, right? Like Apple has all the resources, all the money.
Right.
How can you compete? But we've seen actually that is not always the route to success.
Yeah.
And I believe it's going to be forming strong partnerships with key players. And I think this is how you can not only gain a competitive advantage, but maintain it and produce the best quality products. I love developing things in-house. I love building things myself. But I think we also need to be open and admit where the tech might already exist. It might be cheaper to go with a partner, or they might have more expertise in that area.
Right.
And that you need to come from almost a humble place and know your strengths and know your weaknesses and know what you can provide and what a partner might provide. But I do believe we'll be starting to see more cross-industry partnerships, with a variety of different brands and companies in the future, especially around tech.
So my comment on that is also that one thing is, if the software will be leading or not. I think the software is a very important part of it. But the second thing is, I guess it's a brand / affinity. So I kind of trust Adidas on things sports related.
Exactly.
You might know something, right?
Yeah.
But those chip makers from Google, I don't know.
And this is why you'll see big companies want to partner with brands like Adidas, because Adidas already have that trust, already have that customer base. People believe when we're building products that it's the best possible design to get the most optimal performance. I'm not going to go buy a football shoe from Apple anytime soon. I'll tell you that. They need 10, 20 years of probably experimentation, trial and error, till they probably get to the point where we're at now. So that would be my take on it. And I think, that is probably why we're, it might see at the forefront that, some of these big players have all the cards and hold all the chips, but that's not the case. And I think you've highlighted one of those reasons there.
But by the way, Apple created their own apparel line back in the day. I think in the 80s. I'm not sure, 90s, early 90s.
That might have been before my time, Redek. I'm not sure.
I'm old, so I might remember. But I think it was some kind of a marketing move, but they tried to sell it, through the retail, and it went nowhere, because why would you use Apple apparel, right? One more question. which I think is pretty cool and pretty simple. It's from Barbara, and she asks, so which one out of emerging AI technologies are you the most excited about? Like you personally, like what makes you tick?
It's hard to pick one, and to be quite honest, I don't think I have a full understanding or scope of what's coming up ahead of us. But like large language models, it's the buzzword at the moment. And what excites me is not really, let's say, an individual excitement. Like for me, and this might be a bit of drinking the Kool-Aid, let's say, but it's democratizing information and democratizing and making accessible information to people who might not have it previously. ChatGPT and other solutions, they take a variety of different information, not just the internet, but also paid research papers, which like I don't have access to, or people in other countries or other circumstances don't have access to. So, you know, I believe, especially people from maybe disadvantaged backgrounds or people who don't have the accessibility to optimal schooling or would like to learn a new skill set but can't hire a tutor or what have you. I believe especially large language models will bring down those barriers and almost even the playing field when it comes to education and skills ups.
Yeah.
So I think for me that I don't know if exciting is the right word, but that is what I hope at least around large language models, ChatGPT, Genesis AI, what have you.
These are really good observations. I know this, but I never thought about this in this context of democratization of access to knowledge and ability to quickly, translate, summarize vast amounts of knowledge that before that would be, totally not for you. Yeah, even kids can probably. I mean, I'm doing this with my kids. So whenever they want to know something, I tell them, ask the AI. They were having fun with ChatGPT on my mobile phone, and if they don't get it, I tell them, tell the AI you are 6 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the results are
incredible.
outstanding, right?
Yeah. It's really, really, truly impressive. And again, we're in the infancy of this technology. It's I expect, only going to improve and become more accessible. So, yeah, I think, really exciting times ahead. Yeah, good question, Barbara.
Let's go to our topics that we've prepared. You already touched upon this a bit about AI or algorithms, advanced algorithms in AI in Adidas pricing strategies and market analysis.
Yeah.
You've mentioned about this dynamic pricing and then scenario planning simulations. Okay, can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, so this was actually really the first fully fledged AI product. I was responsible and owned. One very close to my heart. As I said, in essence, we built a holistic price management solution based on 2 or 3 different machine learning models with various different business and technical algorithms running on top to really deliver, in essence, 3 scopes of recommendations. There's a lot of different recommendations within these scopes, but we're looking at price elasticity and demand forecasting and the scenario planning. We're looking at the optimal pricing strategies, and we're looking at the optimal product offerings. So you can take an example such as Black Friday. So I'm in February and the business asks, okay, we need to start planning for a promotion in November. That is very difficult to foresee. Okay, what stock am I going to have left in November? What shoes are still going to be available? Am I going to be above target or below target in terms of demand or profitability at that point?
Right.
It's extremely difficult and extremely time consuming to manually create all these different options depending on where you expect to be in 8, 9 months' time. So that's really what we set out our goal to do. And again, going back to, we have some very, very talented people within the Adidas team. I won't mention names, but we have, for a long time, these people were making these repetitive decisions, which maybe had low impact, which now we've taken responsibility for. And one of the biggest successes we've had is that, with a lot of our solutions and recommendations now, we're achieving a 95% adoption rate, which means that 95% of the recommendations, and that can be 5,000 to 10,000 different recommendations a day, 95% are pretty much automatically adopted by the business. And then that last 5%, we do a review, we do a check to see, if we agree with the model, or maybe the business has a certain context which the model is not taken into account. So we built this solution. It took maybe a year to build an MVP, which has changed drastically over the years. But now, and that was for one market. But now this solution is running in 3 different continents, supporting, I would say, between 30 to 50 different campaigns in the year, all with different pricing strategies, all with different promotional mechanics, also targeting different consumer bases. It's a highly complex task, something I'm incredibly proud of. And again, going back to the point that I hope and I believe that our business partners who we built this solution for in the end have been given back time, which is the one commodity that we can't buy and we can't get back, is that we're giving them time to do more exciting things. And I'm hoping it's been a difficult process, like people have got impatient with me in the past and got frustrated maybe in the quality of the models, but I would hope and like to think we're at a point where that has subsided, and as I said, the business partners and colleagues are able to be creative, focus on new things, understand the core of the issue, the core of the problem, and look for further incremental gain outside of the mass decision making which the models now do.
The one thing you just beautifully explained to me, the thing I never thought about as a digital leader, that all of those things that you just described as a huge problem to solve, like there will be a Black Friday, there will be a promotion, someone will buy Facebook ads, we need to be prepared. All of those things were not real like 15 years ago or 20 years ago. The life was, in a way much simpler. You just, I assume
lower expectations, I think. Lower expectations, I think.
There were totally lower expectations. The expectations was, I guess, I don't remember, you go to a shop, there are Adidas shoes, and that's it. You either buy them or not, right? And retailers probably had to stock up, 1 year ahead, and it's their problem. Sell it or lose it, right? And now, if you have a direct channel and you run all those promotions, you have to send it, you have direct to consumer relation, it's a different world, right? And to plan for it, I assume it can be a hell to plan such a Black Friday, right? I run.
It's almost a task. You plan 8-9 months in advance, and then the whole market changes, the whole business dynamic changes, the targets change. It's I don't envy the people who've been doing that manually for such the longest time.
I was running a digital goods platform for a short time. And then it was hard to prepare for such things, technically wise, like how to serve load, how to do this, customer experience wise, what do we do if something goes wrong? But here you have this, logistic component, like real things, right? This can be really, really hard. Really, got me thinking how digital changes the whole ecosystem. David, we have 1 minute left, but I hope we can stay for just more 5 minutes. Final question is key ingredients for building successful high performance AI tech team, right? So you've done it, as you explained, you've came up from a pen and from a notepad, few people, POCs, to leading a bigger team.
Let's not mention the notepad too much. The data scientists will be annoyed with me.
We are going to edit this. Well, now it's live. So what are the key ingredients? How to build a team capable of doing this?
Sure. We have a minute left, so I'll try and keep this simple. So I think first, an environment which allows for open communication and, to be able to work without a fear of failure. I don't think, you can be innovative without having open communication. And if you don't fail and you don't have some aspect of trial and error, cross-functional skill sets and personalities within the team. We need to embrace diversity. We all bring different skill sets and different thoughts to a conversation and to a design process. And having a balanced view definitely aids in creating the most value for our customers and for the business. access to the latest and best tools, technologies, and learning materials, is key. And that final thing I would say is that drive to continuously learn, but also that unshifting focus on creating value and impact for the business. It's key. Continuous learning and making impact. This is we're not, like, sometimes it feels like it, but we're not really building AI solutions for fun. We love to accept experiments. We love developing with these new technologies, but we can't forget that we're being paid to create value for the business, and especially with AI solutions replacing processes which have been around for years. It's creating that incremental value. And again, go back to that topic of monetization of AI. It's a key focus. And I think those are probably the 4 or 5 ingredients, at least from the top of my head, that I think really go towards creating that high performance but also positive working environment within a team.
Thank you for giving tips to all of us. We are almost on time. Thank you for all the viewers to staying with us, and the listeners who will listen to this conversation later on. I strongly believe that David has so much knowledge and he's so open to share his experience that if you write to him, add him on LinkedIn with some of more questions, he will be more than happy to answer. That's my assumption. David, thank you very much for being with us.
Quickly, let me just give a shout out to the Adidas tech teams. I've worked with some incredibly talented individuals, right? And it wouldn't have been done without them. And tech teams especially, I think we have a problem or maybe difficulty marketing ourselves and showcasing the successes sometimes. So a shout out to everyone, knows who they are. Like, a shout out to everyone. I'm incredibly proud of what we've done, and so should they. And hope to continue making impact and creating cool solutions in the future.
I subscribe to this. I am an avid user. The product is fantastic. So great job.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Radek.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
See you. Thanks, everyone.